The first guy, Mr. Joe Phillips. He's a longtime friend. He's the fine owner of this beautiful establishment. And my stories for Joe go back in my brewing days, and one of the first couple times that I met Joe, he had this absolutely beautiful BSA. He is also really good friends with my buddy Logan, okay? My best friend. These two guys I've known forever and ever, most of my adult life. And Joe had this BSA. Well, Joe loved this BSA. But then he found a bike that he loved even more than his BSA. He bought a blue Thruxton. He bought this Triumph blue Thruxton, this Caspian blue, this sexy of all sexy motorcycles, right? Later in life, I will find out that is the bane of my existence. He sold this blue bike to my buddy Logan. And ever since, that was the first time I ever rode that blue Thruxton. Because of you, the first time I rode this blue Thruxton, I rode it through the backcountry in Carmel, California, on one of my most awesome, just sort of epic beginning motorcycle adventures. So because you decided to hand this blue Thruxton down to this crazy asshole, I ended up on this thing, and I completely fell in love with the Thruxton. I got off the bike, and Logan asked me, he said, "Why are you so mad?" And I said, "Because when I get home, I'm going to sell the crap that I have, and I'm going to buy one of these." So I also owe Joe a little bit of gratitude in a lot of things, because he and Logan founded and co-founded and built and brought Louisville Vintage to the forefront, which I am lucky enough today to be a big part of and do the podcast. We've sort of just been building it up over since like 2009, so it's been a long time. So I just want to say thank you and get your ass up here, because you're going to kick this off.
Okay, thanks. I also have old people glasses, so it's okay. I don't public speak. I'm a kitchen guy, so I don't really speak at all except for curse words, and yeah, that's about all I got. So I wrote lots of notes. So first of all, I'm honored. I don't need that. It's fine. Everything's fine. Hey, staff, you want to fire me yet? That's fine. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, everybody, for believing in those guys, for following the history of Leuven, for taking it to the next level, new places, and bigger and better things all the time, and all the way full circle to today, speaking of firsts. So I'm super honored to be here. Thank you. I'm going to be awkward. If this sucks and you need to go take a shit or something, I'm not offended. I don't care. Just don't make eye contact. It's okay. Everything's okay. My voice will waver. My hands will probably shake. I can walk in the kitchen and start barking orders and yelling all day long and not break a fucking sweat, but then I get in front of a handful of people. Thank you, Charles, for being a badass. He's my GM. Kind of my everything, hopefully one day business partner, and he's a complete badass and makes it happen. While I'm babysitting the other one and all the needy children, he is the steadfast one running the giant operation, so thank you for being there today. So I'm not really a great premeditated storyteller, so I'm probably going to fuck this up a lot. And if you're like, wow, what is this guy talking about? At least I know a few of you have ADD, so I'll be okay. You'll be like, and then what? And then what? And then what? Firsts. That could get real weird. So I was like, well, I guess it should be PG. And it really made me, it could get really weird, really quick. It made me think of this, and it kind of went backwards. So I'm going to kind of just break into like a little bit of I guess my history and how this is going to fall is my first brake bike, and that was in 1999, and I have two today. And I'm probably more in love now, at 49 years old, than I've ever been with them. And there's a lot of reasons why, and none of them are that weird. I mean, I didn't have sex with a gas tank or anything. I thought about doing, but I didn't do it. So, yeah, I told you it could get weird. It could get so much weirder than you ever want to know. Ask Rob sometime. You probably do. That's like, just don't make eye contact. It's just like shitting. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't watch you stumble. You had to get drunk. I was talking. I understand. I want to too. It's okay. So, getting into first, I'm not from here. I was actually born in Cleveland and raised in Southern California. Then I got shipped out here in 1990, and I was a skater kid in Orange County, and I got shipped to Goshen. I don't know how many of you are from here. In 1990, yeah, there's hell, and then there's hell. They're so weird, they don't have sidewalks. So, how could I skate anymore? I couldn't. So, in 1990, punk rock kids from Orange County weren't really accepted here. I'll be polite. So I couldn't skate anymore, which was a huge bummer. There were no skate parks, really. And so I got a motorcycle. A super, super bitchin' 1985 Honda Rebel 250. All the ladies, except one of them, could fit on it. Because it was like a skateboard. But, so, back then, motorcycles were magic. I'm a Gen Xer, and we grew up with Steve McQueen and Evel Knievel and outlaw bikers, and they were literally, just this imaginary, awesome, godlike thing. And that Honda Rebel 250, I think it was from SNS, was the most bitchin' thing I've ever seen. I was like, oh my god, it's red, it's got these Honda wings, and yeah. So I got it, and I started riding. And it was my first bike. And I used to ride everywhere, all over Louisville. I crossed the bridge to Indiana one time, to like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome land, and I got lost, and I was scared. But I would cross 2nd Street Bridge because of that dandelion print, and I would just like connect with that. It would resonate with me. There was no helmet law, so of course I did not wear a helmet. And yes, I was smoking cigarettes while I was riding, because you had to do every stupid thing that your heroes did. That they're all dead, but whatever. That's another story time. So I rode that bike for a long time, got in quite a few wrecks, and moved on to like good wrecks, like stupid. One time, I was at Dairy Queen, and my friends and this hot chick I was trying to date were in the back of a pickup truck, because we also did that. And there was no legal smoking age, so we'd stopped at the gas station, bought cigarettes, and then we were leaving. And I'd locked my handlebars in the parking lot. Do you think I forgot that I locked them? Oh, I did. And what was cooler, while I was spinning in circles, is when I ate shit. I ate shit on the throttle, and it was open. So I'm like climbing out from under the bike, and it's like, whee! And my friends are all in the back of the truck like, what in the fuck? And the girl's just looking at me, lady was, she didn't want to ride with me. I don't know why. And I like kill the bike and pick it up and unlock my handlebars. I get out and I like burn away all pissed off that my handlebar up here and my other one down here. Yeah, I did a lot of stupid shit. So I wrecked that quite a few times, and then I bought a Honda Shadow, and that was my first 650 bikes, I think. Bob Taylor's custom pinstriping in Louisville. I had black flames with OSHA purple pinstriping. Oh, yeah, that was real cool. And then I got rid of the mirrors so I could like pretend something. So I rode that for a while and wrecked that, surprisingly also. And on a Magbar hangover, decided to join the Army for the first time also. And last, thank God. So I left, went to the Army, and came back. And I decided to buy vintage cars and kind of take a break, because maybe I wasn't so good at riding motorcycles. And I took a break for a couple of years, and I wanted to get back in the game, and I married my first wife. Here comes all the firsts. And my second wife was also my second wife. But we'll get to that part later, because that's also mildly amusing, mostly embarrassing on my own. So I meet this amazingly awesome, badass, brilliant, strong woman, Kristen. And I was kind of like this weird artist, bartender guy, living in the Highlands, doing the weird shit we're not going to talk about. And we got together and we kind of progressed rather quickly, like, I don't know, 3 months got married. And it just keeps going. And she is amazing and supportive. And she's like, you talk about motorcycles a lot, you should really get a motorcycle. And I knew this guy, John Russell.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. No. And it was really weird because he was kind of young and I don't know. Yeah. I'd get coffee. And the way that he would greet me, and like, we're not bros, he would smack my ass. And I'm getting coffee. And sometimes he'd like cup it. And I'd be like, dude, I'm not awake. Like, what are you doing? Like my wife would be like, how well do you know that guy? I'm like, not that well. My ass knows him better than I do. I'm like, we did not play ball together. We did not. I don't understand this thing that you do. It makes me so uncomfortable. I can't really say, what am I going to do? Why do you grab my ass? With my mocha? Like, what am I going to do? So, I love him, but not in that kind of way. Whatever. So, he's got BMWs, old BMWs, and I'm like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's an airhead. And I was like, oh, I think maybe I want that thing or something. My wife's like, yeah, let's get it. You need a motorcycle. So I buy a 73 R75 Toaster. And I was like, yeah, I was born in 73 too. I'm one of those people. So I was like, oh, it's meant to happen. So I get it, and I fell in love with it. It's crazy, and it's weird, and it's shaft-driven, and I'm just nerd now. And then we have our first daughter, and we get our first computer in a carriage house in the Highlands. And I've got this airhead, and we go to the coffee shop, and I don't think I got my ass grabbed that day. And there was a bookstore next to it, and I found this. I was looking at this random like design magazine, and it had a photo shoot in England of all these guys wearing all these clothes, and it looked like Depeche Mode in the 80s, kind of mixed with Elvis. And I was like, what is this? And it had like 59, and it had like an Ace logo, and I lost my mind. I just sat in the bookstore staring at it, and I'm like trying to read about it, and there wasn't a lot of information. So I buy the magazine, and I go home, and I get it on the new computer, first computer, and the internet back then was, kind of weird too. We won't talk about, there's only so many things to look at, and we all know what one of them was. But I could order stuff from far away, and I could see classified ads that weren't in print. And so I started just like researching British bikes, and I lost my mind. I mean, I fell in love with the Ace Cafe and the history and the 59 Club and Father Bill, and I just went down this rabbit hole that completely consumed me. And I'm not that guy. I don't really care. I'm kind of anti. I don't really care what people do. And I lost my shit. I like found my home. And I found a classified ad in Ohio for a guy who had a 68 Norton first year Villiers fastback. I had the badges on the tank, not the decal. And he wanted to trade, and we ended up talking on the phone, and this was blind trade. I was like driving 3 hours up into Ohio in a pickup truck with my toaster and hoping this guy's bike didn't suck. And we traded on the side of the road, traded titles, and this thing was amazing. I had no idea what I was getting. It just was like, it is a Norton. And so we get it, and I bring it home, and we pulled it in the house. She let me keep it in the dining room. Yeah. I would like be working on it, and then Roxy's like 3 months old on the floor next to me, and I'm like handing a bottle to her and like trying not to break some shit. So my oldest daughter clearly grew up with him, but I get this Norton, and it's British parallel twin, and I start reading about the first year, what it is, and Villiers badges, and pretty rare, honestly, but I have no idea what I really had. God, I wish I had it back, but I just lost my shit. So I like spent all the money and did all the upgrades, and she was for it. And I went to Madison, Indiana for my first time in my life riding first year 68 Fastback with my ex-wife on it, and I would ride it to work. I was a GM at Lynn's Paradise Cafe at the time, where I met Dave Stubbe. And he saw the Norton parked out front because I'd ride it to work. I'd commute on it. It wasn't, I was living it. And I was a nerd. I had a DeVita half helmet with the 3 silver stripes. Nobody was wearing that shit. This was in 2000. And I was a super nerd. And I was hanging out with old guys up at the BMOK guys. And, there wasn't really anybody. And then Stubbe moves down here and I hire his wife. And his wife's like, so we're from Chicago. And my husband likes British motorcycles. You like British motorcycles? And I was like, there's another. There's another out there, and they're not 70. And she's like, yeah. And I meet Stubbe, and we were like brother from another mother. And so I started, hanging out in his garage all the time, and we would do like bike nights at Lynn's, because I had some servers, Chris Higdon, who is in the band Elliot, and a bunch of other guys wanted to learn how to ride, so I taught them how to ride, and everybody ended up buying motorcycles, and we would play movies at Lynn's, like Leather Boys and Psychomania on Wednesdays, and have bike night, and there wasn't much going on in Louisville at the time. And so that was my first British bike, and it was different than anything I'd ever owned, and I just kind of knew, that I was fucked. I knew, but I liked it. It was like an abusive relationship, the kind that like you want to stay in because it's kind of trashy and it's kind of good in like the worst way, and so I did, clearly, and so that was my first British bike, and then sadly we amicably got divorced, and in the divorce I said I'm just going to take the BSA and you keep everything. We had 2 daughters, and just be normal. I'm just going to take my BSA and kind of be homeless, and whatever, and constantly fixing the bike on the side of the fucking road all the time. Who needs a girlfriend? I have this shit show. Like, talk about expensive. Like, it's non-stop. I'm like, damn, I just fixed that issue. There's another one? I didn't even do anything this time. Yeah, I own a Royal Star sometime because it's a special punishment. And I loved it, and I rode it to work, and I rode it all the time, and I'd be like riding to work at 6 in the morning in the winter, freezing my ass off with that goofy helmet and my goggles and my white scarf, and I didn't give a shit. Like, I was so in it. And so let me catch up with myself. Okay, so Stubbe had I was kind of tired of the Royal Star. He had a Thunderbolt, and I had become friends with this young lady who was riding this. I would see this, I'd be at like Grinstead Light, and I'd see this chick on a black BMW toaster, and I'd be like, who the hell is that? Like, I mean, we stood out like we were neon, and it was Jackie Van Ham, and she'd be like, and I'm like, who's that? And I would like try to chase her down, be like, who is this woman on an old BMW? Like, I have to know this person. And fortunately, I got to become friends with her because she's badass. And some other people that moved into town, and I won't drop too many names, good, bad, or otherwise. And the community started to grow. And Stubbe sold me this Thunderbolt. And my second wife, who's an awesome badass, and I wish she was here today, was also super behind it, and she was really supportive. And so I had this Thunderbolt, and we bought our first house together in Germantown, and we were newly married, and I sold it and bought a Thruxton, a Caspian Blue Thruxton in Alabama. And there's one part, I guess I got to go back for a minute, of like how stupid I am, and then we'll jump real quick back to how stupid I was again. When I bought the Royal Star, my then girlfriend, now second wife, drove me to the middle of nowhere in Illinois And the guy's like, the bike runs and everything's fine. And she had a CRX, so we weren't towing it. And I was like, I'm gonna ride it back. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, it starts, right? Like, why wouldn't I ride it back? What's wrong with you? Poser. Sure. That was a real tough guy. So I get on the bike and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like trying to figure it out because they're all different and they're all weird and they're all moody. And I'm riding and like I see my wife's CRX getting further and further and further away from me. And we're like cornfields, like children of the corn kind of cornfields, where I'm like, damn, I'm kind of nervous because it's scary out here. And I'm like, what the hell is she doing? You know, this thing can't go over 60. I'm like, and her windshield wipers are on. And it's like sunny as shit in the summertime. And then all of a sudden the bike just starts slowing down. And I'm like, what's going on? And I look down and I'm wearing like a Oxblood Dogs boots, and there's oil all over my right ankle. Well, I had been pissing like in the wind, oil all over her windshield. She couldn't figure it out. She thought it was the car. And then we pull over and she's got oil all over a CRX, and I'm standing there. I'm like, oh fuck, like we might die. Like, these people don't like Japanese cars, and they don't even know what the hell this thing is. So, I'm sorry. And we had like a Nokia cell phone, you know, like before flip phone, I think. And there was no service. So we were like, how many cigarettes do we have to smoke until we die? And it's my fault. It's my fault. And I'm like, wow, this awesome chick's here with me, and we're going to die. So this pickup truck pulls over, and I'm like, okay, I don't have a knife, I don't have brass knuckles, shit. How many cigarettes do we have? We're gonna die right now. And a dude gets out, and he's wearing a Triumph t-shirt. No. And I'm like, the fuck? And he's like, hey man, I got a friend. And I was like, oh damn it, I bet you do. And so, I mean, we're already going to die. It's just about how weird is it going to get of how we die. So he's like, well, let's start. Can you follow me? And I'm like, shit. So I tell her, I'm like, follow way behind. And if we get near some, like, no trespassing, children of the corn shit, whatever, just go. It's okay. Remember me. And we go to this dude's trailer because he's like, I got a chopper. And maybe I can fix it. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm already gonna die. So he can't fix it. And he's super legit. He's got a little kid, this cute little kid running around. I'm like, I'm being an asshole. I'm being like a city guy. So he's like, I got another friend. And I was like, oh shit. I thought this was gonna go well. Now it's gonna get weird. So we go to this house, and this dude comes out in this leisure suit, this purple leisure suit, in a like rascal. And his wife comes out wearing a matching one. And I was like, oh, this is my kind of weird. I like you guys. I don't even know who the hell you are. I don't even know where I am. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore, but you're dressed amazingly well. And he comes out with this thing that's got like the orange flag on the back of it. And there's his grandkid like just ripping in the backyard on the dirt bike, just like, meh. And I'm like, oh shit. Maybe there's a God. Maybe I'm not dying, but like everything's gonna be okay. And there's 2 semi-trailers in the garage, and he opens his garage, and it is full of like immaculately restored bread bikes. Like when the garage door went up and I saw what was inside, I shit you not, I heard like, because I went from hell, because I earned it and I was going there, to like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. Like, how did this even happen? And even my wife was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't know why this is happening right now. Dude's named Fat Cat. I call Stubby, hey, this guy wants to keep my bike. He says he knows you. Stubby's like, yeah, I know him. I'm like, of course you do. Stubby, middle of nowhere, knows this dude wearing a purple leisure suit riding a hover round in a cornfield. And I'm like, yeah, of course, Dave. Why wouldn't you know this guy? So we leave the bike there, and he had much nicer bikes than mine. And he takes me out to these semi-trailers, and he opens the tube, And he had from like 1957 or 58 to late 60s, T120s and 110s lined up and completely restored that he was selling. And I was like, how does this happen? So it was my first time in the Brit bike world where there's this strange karma sometimes that I'm not dogging any other mark or any other brand, because we all have had this experience, whether you're Italian or Harley or Japanese or whatever. There's this strange energy that kind of carries you out there. And it's really strange when you're like way out of your league and maybe Malachi is going to find you. And then that happens, you know, and you're just like, whoa, shit, what is even going on? So that was my first experience of like, it's bigger than me. So I come back, Stewie and I take the bike back, we fix it at his house, and then eventually one thing leads to another. I buy the Thruxton in Alabama online, and I'm like, this is a new bike. I'll ride it back. Because I learned my lesson from the old bike in Children of the Corn. So I have a new girlfriend, and she would take me. And so we go. And we get to this bike, and it's gorgeous. It's like, I bought the Caspian Blue one because it was one of the prettiest things I've ever seen in my life. And we get it, and I get on it, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome, I got this. I don't know how many of you remember the first year at Thruxton's, but they had clip-ons. And I don't know how many of you have ridden bikes with clip-ons for a long distance in that awkward-ass position. But I think I lasted like 45 minutes, and I was dying. Like, my hands were numb, my back hurt, my neck hurt, and I had to ride it all the way back. So we went like 31. It took something like 9 hours. It was the most ridiculous shit ever. And that was again, I'm stupid. That was my first introduction to clip-ons, and I've not gone back since. So I get it home, and I'm in love with it, and I'm riding it everywhere, and I meet Logan at Cumberland, because our partners at the time worked there, and he's like, what the hell is that? And I told him, I'm like, it's pretty, isn't it? He's like losing his mind over it. And we start talking about motorcycle community, and he's like, I haven't had a bike, but I want one, but I want that one. And he was just like, his target was set. I want that to be my first bike. And so eventually I was ready to sell it. I was like, if I'm going to sell it to anybody, it's going to be Logan, because Logan's different, and he gets it, and he really wants this to be his first bike. And so long story short, I sell it to him, and we both decide to push this motorcycle community idea that we've had together on Facebook, learning how to use the Facebook, and create a page. And watching Logan get his first bike to where he is today, you know, is pretty mind-blowing. And then, you know, Rob and the community, a lot of people having their first experiences, and Rob being able to be engaged in something the way he had dreamed about when we would talk at the brewery, and his firsts, this theme just brought a lot of memories I forgot about, you know, and really connecting to, this is my first time doing something like this. And how no matter what, there's an energy that seems to carry us all through in whatever random ways and stupid mistakes and happy mistakes that we make. And have I used up all my time yet? Okay, tight. Because I went way the fuck off topic. Like, I stopped reading my own notes a long time ago. And it's that motorcycle karma. Again, you know, you can just find yourself, and you kind of find your grace in it. And it's really a great thing to see everybody doing something like this for the first time. And that's all I got. So thank you for coming.